Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first ever episode of Quantum Talk. So, what we wanted to do for this first episode is just tell you a bit of our backgrounds and a bit of our stories as how we came to do quantum counseling and our purpose for it. And I don't think there's a better example than using you because you were the actual guinea pig that the family sent to slaughter. In the sense that you were the first one of the family that was introduced to quantum counseling. And I think it's such an interesting story how you developed from your introduction to this to studying it and then creating your own academy. So we think it good to just say a few things. First off, me and Alzana are actually sisters. We know we don't look alike, but we are sisters, and it's been an amazing journey to see each other grow and see each other be blessed. And just to, there's no way anyone can say that this doesn't work as we've experienced the change ourselves. So take it away and just tell us a bit of your history and how all of this came to be.
Thank you, Natanya. So yes, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm very excited about this podcast, and let's just start with the beginning. That's always a good place to start. So we grew up in a house where our mother is a counselor. So we were always exposed to all of the counseling tools, deliverance, prayer, inner healing, all of those things. And a few years ago, I went through a really tough time. And we did all the things that we usually do. And there was some breakthrough, but it felt like I got stuck. Like I hit a ceiling and I just couldn't progress past it. And then a very good family friend of ours suggested that I try quantum counseling. And I was a bit skeptic, but desperate as well. So I thought, you know what, I'll do anything. And I still vividly remember my first quantum counseling session. It was mind-blowing and weird at the same time. I remember getting home that night and my mom asking, how was it? And I just said to her, it was amazing. Like the things that my body could tell, the trauma and how accurately it could even give the age that I was when it got stuck. No one could know that. And I felt amazing afterwards. But I said to her, this is so weird. I don't know how we're going to explain this to people. And so my journey started, and it was about a year that I did quantum counseling with Kim in America. And at the end of that time, I really went through healing so much faster if I compare it to other traumas in my life.
I just want to pause you there because it's not like you haven't been for counseling up until that point, right? There's been many interventions, I think is the right word. Like all the tools that we've known up until that time have been applied, and we're sort of sitting with question marks as to why things aren't progressing.
Exactly.
You're serving God, you're doing what you need to do, but you somehow you do get better. So I don't want to take away from the conventional ways. There was a lot of progress, but I agree that the most progress from an external point of view was from the moment the quantum counseling started. So it's not for lack of trying, and I think that's also where your desperation comes from, because we were out of tools by that time.
Yes. And something you mentioned now is really important. And that's what I teach the students in the academy as well, is that we've got different tools in the toolbox. And there's not just one tool that works for everything. In fact, what I tell my clients as well when they come with an issue is that this is probably a combination of things. If you think of a puzzle, if we could find all the little puzzle pieces, we'll get a complete picture, and then we can deal with the complete picture. So, for example, if I take myself, there were bloodline things that I needed to sort out. There was iniquity and sin in my own life. My own bad choices. There was inner healing that needed to take place and counseling. But the thing that was missing to complete that puzzle was the trauma that was in my body. And so I think that's what happens often, is that we only focus on the soul and on the spirit, but we forget that our bodies have this amazing capability to hold on to trauma. And sometimes that's just the final piece of the puzzle that we need to get that complete picture and to be a whole human being. So when we address our issues, body, soul, and spirit, I find we get the most healing. So that was my experience. And then I decided, well, the Lord's blessed me so much through this quantum counseling that I really feel like I want to do this. I want to help other people. And I started looking for a school that I could study through. And everything out there that does quantum is very mainstream. And there's nothing wrong with it, but it's focused solely on science. And then, unfortunately, we find that often in these type of things, whenever there's truth, the enemy always comes in and he tries to kill, steal, and destroy. So the enemy cannot create anything, but he comes in and he kind of starts to infiltrate the information that's out there and defiles it with witchcraft and New Age practices. So an example that I often use as well is if you look at your cell phone, the cell phone is neutral. It's not good or evil. How you apply it, what you use it for, can be good or evil. So you can watch porn on your cell phone, or you can watch a teaching on your cell phone. That's what makes it good or bad. And that's the same with quantum as well. So I was looking for a place to study through, and then we found a school, both of us. We studied through a school in the USA, but like I said, it's secular. It's not Christian-based, not Bible-based. Nothing wrong with it. It's science-based.
But also, obviously, that lacks the spiritual tools that we've known for so many years. You know, the secular, because it's all based on science, there's nothing based on biblical concepts. And so I think that's where we sort of realize, but there is a gap because we have some knowledge that's not included in what we're taught, but we know if that knowledge could be applied to this specific counseling method.
Yes, it's like the spiritual background that we had gives depth to the science. So I studied there. We both did. We got our qualification and we both started our practices, and it went really well, and I was happy with that. And my mom always says sometimes you stumble into the will of God. And that was really what I experienced with the academy, because at that stage of my life, I never dreamed of having an academy, of writing a curriculum, of teaching other people. I was just happy. I was helping people every day. There were amazing testimonies. I'm happy, Lord, I'm in a comfort zone. Leave me where I am. And then obviously, the more people that got interested in quantum counseling and in the sessions, the more people started Googling quantum. And I mean, when you start Googling stuff, you can get some really scary information. So there was a lot of disinformation, false information, ungodly information. And after prayer, I really felt like the Holy Spirit was prompting me to write just a first course to explain what quantum counseling is.
Yes, and because that's one of the first things when people contact us is explain to us, how does this work? And it's not a quick explanation.
No.
Because if you answer that simple question, it leads to other questions.
Yes. So that's how it started. It started with one simple course that I wrote, and the name of the course is Quantum Physics and Counseling. And that course was the foundation of the academy. And it was really a short online pre-recorded course. I did the course 4 times live, where I trained certain counselors, and then just a while back I revamped the course and I did a webinar on it, because since then I've learned so much. And so that course is for anyone. Anyone can watch it that wants to know, how on earth does this work, and how do you incorporate this to traditional counseling? And then from there I realized, okay, but there are so many counselors out there that are called by the Lord that can use this tool in their toolbox, but there's no one out there to train them in a godly and biblical way. So I wrote the course Quantum Soul, and it's not just for counselors, it's also for anyone. You know, it's that story about teaching a man to fish or giving him a fish. If you give him a fish, then every time he needs a fish, he needs to come back to you. But if you teach him to fish, he can help himself. And that was my heart with Quantum Soul, is that every person out there can learn how to muscle test, can find their own trauma, and can release it. And if you can do it for yourself, you can do it for your husband, your wife, for your children, your grandchildren. So that's what that course is for, is to teach any person out there how to muscle test, find their own trauma, and release it. And then on top of that, we then decided to do a final course that's for counselors that want to become consultants. So people like you and me that's schooled for ministry, that's going to see other people, that's going to minister to them. And I needed something to accredit people through so that we know that it's a safe person that you're going through. They've been vetted, they've gone through a certain process, certain exams, practical and written exams and portfolios, and they've been trained and guided in a way that I feel comfortable to give you a certificate and say, you are now a certified quantum consultant. So that's basically what the Academy does. And I think that's the heart of God as well. You know, when Jesus was on earth, he didn't just do all the miracles himself and then died and went up to heaven. He had disciples and he taught them to do what he did, and he sent them out there. And I think that's really the heartbeat of the Academy. Is we don't want to keep this information to ourselves. We don't want to control it. We don't want to build a monopoly. We want to train and equip people that they can go out there and impact people's lives.
I actually saw a client today where, you know, she asked a few questions and so on, but she's done this and this and this. And then I also say to her, you know, the heart of the Father is that we are a kingdom. And that, you know, that we must work together in collaboration with other kingdoms within God's kingdom. So each person has their little thing that God has given them ownership of, but in collaboration with other things and other people and so on. Like you said, just to know that you have a bigger toolbox, and not everyone will be able to yield every tool in the box, but to have people out there to that has a couple of these tools to say, I can help my family, I can see my own children, I can release the trauma frequencies. But something also, you know, for me personally, being able to muscle test, something that is so weird that I think both of us have like gotten used to doing, is if you go out to a shop and you buy supplements, for example, to ask your body, you know, do I need this supplement? Yes, no, is this the best one, etc., etc. And I mean, we've gotten rid of a lot of things because we realized we were taking things that are out because society was telling us to take it and not our bodies.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
I think something that's amazing about this is how this COVID time has actually, for this specific quantum counseling, was ideal because people got used to online work, etc., etc. And that's how all of the sessions, if you book a session, you do it online, etc., etc. And I mean, and it gave you the time also that you needed to develop these curriculums, make sure that you find all of the information in a biblical way and not a scientific way. And something that I listened to the other day is where a lady said that science is not proving what the Bible says. Science is finally caught up to the laws that God has placed there that we've all known about for all of these years. And so this can be scientifically proven, but also biblically. And I think that's amazing, you know, it is actually just as simple as that. And once you have all of the information, you know, especially in your first course, a lot of people, you get some people that, like you say, that are desperate and they will come and do a session, but some people really want to understand how does this work. And I think that first course that you wrote explaining how does this work, it doesn't have any tests or anything to it.
No, there's no exam, no portfolio. And what's nice about the Academy with all three of the courses that I offer is that everything is pre-recorded. So you can do it in your own time. And that makes it really easy for people that have families to take care of, or they've got a job. You know, you don't want a certain time of day that you have to be somewhere. So all of the courses come with manuals. They're all pre-recorded. You do it in your own time. But I also like the personal approach. I don't want it to feel impersonal. And so I've got Telegram groups that I created that all the students get added on as they purchase the certain courses. And we do really regular question and answer evenings. I encourage students to contact me, to voice note or email when they've got a question or they struggle. So we try to have that personal element where I interact with the students regularly, but you can do it in your own time. And I think that's really important.
That's amazing.
Yes.
And I think something that, like you said, since you started the first course, I mean, what was that, 2020? About June, May, June?
Yeah.
that you did the first course, already there's so many things that we've learned in between that you've had to re-record it. So except for the quantum soul and how does that work, what do you think what are your visions for the next year for the Academy, or do you have any extra plans to do anything?
Yes, so part of Quantum Life and becoming a quantum consultant includes an online application that I wrote. It took me nearly 9 months to write the application. It was quite time consuming, but that's really like my baby. And that keeps on expanding all the time. I keep on adding more pages and more charts. So once you finish Quantum Life, you're not done with the training, because as we learn more and we add more stuff, there's more videos that get loaded online. There's more pages that get added to the online application. Just to give a quick example, right now we're working on deficiencies, and not just physical deficiencies like nutrients or superfoods. We're looking at spiritual deficiencies. So is there something that your spirit is experiencing a deficiency of that it needs? Because remember, God created us body, soul, and spirit. So if one part of us is suffering a deficiency or an attack or an imbalance, it affects all parts of us. So that's something I'm quite excited about. And we're also looking at building in a page in terms of child development. So we can go and test and see what stage of your early development there was trauma in. So it's growing, it's expanding. It's not something that's stagnant. And I encourage everyone to continue following us on this podcast as well, because we're going to share some exciting things. So we hope to see you again in our next podcast.
Yes. And I just want to thank you and honor you, Alzaan, because really you are such an example to all of us in just listening to God's voice, and all of the decisions that you make, you measure against the biblical terms and conditions, you can almost say. And, you just, it took you years to do all of these things, and that takes us discipline and self-control. And we just want to honor you and thank you that you've done that, and that you are so obedient to God's voice and what He wants and not what you want. And we just bless you, and we thank you for the academy and the app. It really has blessed all of our lives so much. So and thank you for just doing this sit down with us and having a conversation and just being vulnerable and opening up about your own experiences. We appreciate that.
Thank you. And all the honor and glory to the Lord. And can I just finish off with this one thing? It comes from years of being disobedient and not listening to the Lord, and paying the price for that. That has taught me to be careful what I decide and what I do, and to really try and listen to the voice of God. So we just give Him all the honor and the glory.
Amen. Okay, see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.